closer. Today I want to talk about someone who had a big impact on my life. Akulokar Ramse. I knew him personally. I lived with him for more than 10 years, beginning when I was a little child. He wasn't just someone I heard about, he was a part of my life. He was like a teacher to me. He taught me why he believed it was important to stand up for Tibet's independence and to care about the Tibetan people. He always spoke with kindness and wanted us to understand his beliefs. He was also a very kind person. Whenever he traveled to protest or elsewhere, he would always bringing back small gifts. Those gifts made me happy. But what I remember most is that he's a man who did not give up on what he fought for. His decision to set himself on fire was a tragic act of protest. He would bring attention to the struggles of the Tibetan people. While many people have different views about his actions, I remember first as a caring, generous, and thoughtful person who would give up everything for Tibet to be free. I feel grateful that I had a chance to know him, and I will always remember his kindness and the lessons he taught me and the way he cared for others. He and other Tibetans who did the act of protesting through self-immolation did not only do this for the freedom of their nation, they also did it for the younger Tibetan generation, so that in the future they could have a place to call home. The sacrifice is a direct call to action for all of us. As the youth, we hold the future of Tibet in our hands, and we must find the courage to stand up, speak out, and proudly preserve our language and keep our rich culture alive every single day, and continue the fight for our country's freedom. We will never forget where we come from, and we'll never stop fighting for our homeland. Begalo! Begalo!
About the CCP's new genocidal ethnic unity law and about education. Logor Rangzila talked about how he deeply regretted that he had, because of his lack of formal education and his difficulty learning English, there was so much he couldn't do. His love for his nation, his desire for Tibet's independence was stronger than anything you could imagine. But after 20 years in America, he realized that his simple patriotic love couldn't bring Tibet's narrative into the world's media or work with the governments of the world to fight against China. He realized that only Tibetans who had the education and had the languages of the world that he lacked could get that job done. We young Tibetans have that privilege. We have those tools to fight for our country. Everything he told my father that he lacked, we possessed it. Our grandparents fled Tibet across the freezing, dangerous terrain. Our parents built lives in strange countries, working odd jobs, so that we could get this education, we could get these opportunities, and we could continue their fight. To our older generation, because of that, we have immense gratitude. But Logor Rangzila was right when he said that the infighting and petty politics are destroying our exiled community. As a young Tibetan, it's embarrassing to see. And when you see it from our perspective, it doesn't make any sense. Try explaining to us why some Tibetan communities have two organizations, or why some parents won't let their kids play with children whose families believe in Rangze. This reminds me of a story. When my Momo first arrived in India in Yaga, there was a blatant divide among Tibetans in her village simply because they came from different regions. Kham, Amdo, Utsang. Despite all of them being forced from the same motherland, same homeland, they had the audacity to have these type of regional differences divide them. That mindset was then passed down to their kids, my mother's generation. But by then, the hateful sparks had already weakened. They weren't that close. They were close, but they weren't close to the point where they were as one. Today, in the very same village that was once deeply divided, my cousins play basketball, have sleepovers, go to parties with the same kids whose grandparents were once on the opposite sides of those divisions. With every generation, those walls continue to disappear, and we grow closer as one people. Doksa Chikti. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what region we come from, but on whether we can stand together for Rangze in a fight for our very existence. In light of Paul Logan Rangzela's ultimate sacrifice, we must leave those divisions behind. We must leave those divisions behind. Because if we were asking the world to stand with us, stand with Pe, stand with Tibet, we must first be willing to stand with each other. My Tibetans in exile, our moment is here. China has brought the fight to our doorstep. Article 63 of the Genocidal Ethnic Unity Law, the law that Logan Rangze died for, protesting, states that organizations and individuals outside the mainland territory of the PRC that commit acts aimed at the PRC that undermine ethnic unity, progress, or create ethnic division are to be pursued for legal responsibility in accordance with law. Listen to that. Process that. Just by being here today in New York City, carrying a Tibetan flag, protesting for our very freedom, we are now criminals in the eyes of the CCP. But we've always known this. We've always known this. China is saying the silent part out loud. In their eyes, being Tibetan is being criminal. It's to be a criminal. I want to end my speech with Paul Logan Rangzela's final words, his final message. Pe Rangze, Tibetan independence. My generation has heard a lot from our parents about Ume Lam Rangze. But for us to truly fight for our nation, our cause, we must know the real facts about our history. In 1979, His Holiness's brother, Gyalo Tunduk, went to China to meet with the Chinese dictator at the time, Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping said to Gyalo Tunduk that if we gave up our fight for independence, if we stopped saying Rangze, if we stopped saying free Tibet, if we stopped saying that, everything else could be negotiable. Whether it was Kong Secho coming back to Pe, whether if we had religious freedom in Pe, they said that everything would be negotiable. Based on that lie, His Holiness Kong Secho, Kuni Chupshipa, put forward the Strasbourg proposal in 1988, where he announced Tibet would give up its fight for independence and try for a genuine autonomy instead. That was almost 40 years ago. 40. That's older than most of the Shungite here, most of the younger people here, that's older than them. And for our older generation, that's most of their lives. 40 years based on that lie. Some people have been urging for Ume Lam. We've been brainwashed. It is not right. We shouldn't rely on China, the people that are committing genocide to our people. Why would we trust them? Why? His Holiness always says, it is our duty as Tibetan Buddhists to hold up all of his teachings like we're inspecting a piece of gold and compare them to reality. And if a teaching isn't compatible with reality, to set it aside. Ume Lam may have made sense 40 years ago when Deng Xiaoping first made his false promise to Gyalo Tunduk. But today, with the new Chinese dictator who's far more brutal, far worse, aiming to eradicate the Tibetan people, Ume Lam is not compatible with our reality today. The CCP doesn't even let its own Han people have the freedom of religion. or speech. Why would they give Tibet a better deal than its own citizens? Think about that. Why would they? Bao Loga Rangze said it the best. The only path forward is independence, is Rangze. The only way to secure our future, our religious freedom, is independence. Bao Loga Rangze died to show us the way forward. And with the unified support of our elders in our community, I know we will win. So that we will all soon be reunited in a free Tibet, in an independent Tibet. Rangze! Rangze Garo! Rangze Garo! Pengi Dapo Pimini! Pengi Dapo Pimini! Rangze Chakbaye! Rangze Chakbaye! Free Tibet now! Free Tibet now! China to Tibet now! Save all the CCPs! Save all the CCPs! We want justice! We want justice! Save all the CCPs! Rangze Galo! Rangze Galo! Rangze!
For Free Tibet. On July 2nd, 2026, Bao Loga Rangze made a heartbreaking and devastating decision to self-immolate himself outside of the United Nations headquarters. He did this action beside a Tibetan flag that he had placed. He chose this path because he felt that this was the only way to help people around the world learn about Tibet's struggles. Bao Loga Rangze was not a stranger to hardships. He was born in eastern Tibet, left his home, and built a new life in the United States. Over the years, he lived as a Tibetan activist. More than 170 brave Tibetans have self-immolated themselves for a free Tibet. Bao Loga Rangze has also spoken up against many policies that threaten Tibet's culture, language, and human rights. He made the sacrifice after a new law called the Ethnic Unity and Progress Law, which threatens to erase the very identity of Tibetans. Personally, when I first heard this news, I was deeply saddened because he was always there at protests and events. Before his passing, he asked people to not mourn him, but to carry forward his hope and to continue to fight for a free Tibet. When we talk about Bao Loga Rangze, he isn't just a Tibetan. He's a Tibetan activist that has worked endlessly for a free Tibet. In Tibetan, the word Rangze means independence. He did not just carry that name, he lived it. Pho Rangze! Pho Rangze! Pho Rangze! Pho Rangze Gyalo!
인게 돈이 쉬줘버지 단다 얘기 지단들이 얘기는 땀 깨져셔야되는 개구지매 다이니야 단다 다른 건조기 베베기 쉔게기 겐지 계진에 독슬레온 좀발라 토마들라 통지시주시다 지다 얘 건조 베베기 소소 베리기 소소 개가 메리시도 탑재지다 막얘 통지 쉬고 메란 남샤기 얘 랍디기 다이나 다리 대라 건조 쉔게 마부 쇼지 소소 개 소소 계진에 독슬레라 소저기 자리에 지진의 개값다 메리 탑저기 쳐도 기시 알레온 좀보다 대야 맞으로 초와 싸워지다 누가 싸워지 제나 숑라이 달래 뺏어오지 맞저기 탑저기 유림 나로라 겐쇼 바숨 차장기 겐케기 여 누가디 여다 치디기 누가 여래 비스지 좀 발라 되니 가만히 숨지게 계속 나진 다딩에 인계돈 쉬줘버지 first of all I would like to thank each and everyone the speakers who gathered here and they shared their views, their thoughts, what they feel about our own country and our own people's struggle, especially the Tibet's independence. Manzu pe kegap da rangze mixe ki susu shungge ki tanda pe kegap larso chigo do nuba di doksto yon zambala manzu chazang ki gen kewe ton dingal nuba shukche pungto ya maung bala manzu namsha kyundu labdi wole pe maung pe ki sunza 당안조 마오 페기 선자 다들 데레 여기 다들이 수신나니 공람바 주 다시레 데냐 데나들이 멍부 쇼지 좀도 데랭게 제수이랑 당가주 쇼거든 켄조 창마 안조 창마 지당아 젠지나 두고 말이가 밀리는 제인이 안가던데 젠지 다 되게 슈늘 해줘라 좀보다 슈누기 지도 나올라 시수주 슈누기 로체드 로줍시기 양답 차장 로줍시기 양답 차장 슈늘렌조기 딕조기 통미 지초고 데 가래라나 슈늘렌조기 딕조기 삼로이 캐스 나올라 로기찬이 쉔게요레 셈기찬이 쉔게요레 누바기찬이 쉔게요레 지시 슈누기 아니 단데 통미 나올로 따데나 로 기주초가 된대 로 기주를 망아 쟁게된대 콘저기 수수 로디 기주인의 수수기 삼로 탑주기 누바디 쉔게지기 누바요 잠발 딘 잠바 쉔직도 원에 로 줍시 연답 차상지 슈누이란 슈누레서 직도 나올라 줍시네 연답 제출 바품 차상에서 말라 대진이 슈누레서 직도기 쉔게 라이데 되겠습니다但是 믹스에기 예 쉬어질라 안주 예자 벽이 슈누레서 직접 이 귤레칸 용원에 안주 단다 지도자기 모델 나올라 fake god tibet라니 딩상 점블링 교용라 자나 자오 겸말 숑게 지도 자기의 지도 장렘기 균에 니주 주마서야 니주 오늘 임바디 주마서야 니주 매와지 싸웠어야 내가 망고 쉬고지 나한테고 지대고 근데 차장지다 딩상 안주 믹스에기 쉔게 주제다 딩상 주제 이 점블링 주제기 지도 자기에게 주제 인도 잠발라 안주기 슈네서 직중원에 안주기 fake god tibet라는 안주기 페이스북 페이지요래 안 디나로라 안주기다 단데 알아서 베베 루규래 알아서 베베기 가라 니주 망고 쇼지 안주 그룹 지진에 다 리메이션 독슬로 되게 안 디나로는 따시네 아니 남규 자나 다오 겸말 숑기 혹시 지대양 안주 지도 자기는 따대나 안주 대사 스팸 어카운트 레이라 어카운트 주마 망고 쇼지 기 아니 체게 줘 안주 베베 니주 가라 니주 디 말에 주마레 레다 망고 쇼 통고를 차상하고 오라 딘자만 안주 슈는 직종 원에 아니 안주 단다 레시드 도도 좀이래 안 디나로라 안주 남규 쉔게 당랑 카카시 혼 남샤 퀸도 레딩 딘자만 단다 데라 쉔게 망고 쇼지 좀이 잠발라 안주기 단다디 레시드 도도 단다 wood-side ki danda kamapa society yo deki danda chamogi kangbola ngaju ki danda legung de zuni shayo an din zabala shwenge mangbo shuji suju genki je dinalo nyamshu chiduna ngaju suju pepe lurgyu kangla de ani godo pe kangla namgyu ngaju ta online fight lagro physically yogo be jo online fight shu che da din zabala ngaju online kyujine chizo jage kyujine ani change ye re ani suju lurgyu lo re an din za mix ngaju ngara jo pe geda di 비주 지도나 맞아 그 개다기 이모지도 여대와래 안 되는 점바 되죠 등산 친 주마 먹고 슈팅 것도 되죠 가랑 안주 되죠 자나 슝기 안주 베베기 레구 베결 콘도 보고요 어디 뺑어서 되오르다 딩아주 하고 그래 리지가 레다 안주 친이 가르쳐 오래 콘도 가르쳐 봐서 총자 지도 자기 기념랑 아주 따대다 콘도는 안주기 레구 집에나 콘도도 다들 주마 먹고 슈지 쓰지는 chen 땅에 고두고도 되죠 차단지 가르쳐 자나 슝기 안주 자오 겸말 쇼기 안주기 레구페 대도 사상 도나 지구요 콘솔라 디기 내주시 제가 콘솔 패스오르 딘잠발라 안주기 믹스기 쉔게 케나바데 트리 망부 쇼지 좀 자네 안주 쉔는저 틱도 오면 단다 페이스북 기 페이지 단다 차상 폰 열어 everyone have phone right so can you check your Facebook and text fake gods tibet 디기 단다 웹사이트 단다 주차장이 완전 뉴스 바이 단다 fake god 기 다원 fake god tibet 기 다원 차장 알아서 배반하는 요 완전히 차장이 뉴스 바 차트고요 아니 딘자발라 단다 완전히 지도에 페이스북 나올래요 무트지네 완전히 웹사이트에 아니 심바 교진 독슬래요 그래 아니 디나올로 완전 믹스기 쉔게 내가라 겐케로 제일라니 러쉬에 아니 완전히 레궁디 단다 wood-side 기 사이트라 단다 까마바기 the society yo the building ki basement la yo ani dela tuju tongba sojo ki tuju tongba na phay yaba do yo jene ani sojo gen ki jene dine ya lobjong chai de yo tuju chikse da shuna ches an ta de tang ara zolla na me be uti chino ko kyam go chimbo cho kuje ke gya tensin ani phe shije nyamzo myonom je okay shije nyamzo yo möndu je pekalo and the fake god is spelling the FACT fact GUARD God and Tibet. Did and the Kubechirochi, then I'm rolling on the Nidu Manguch Tanda on the Chodichi Chimi, and on the Pegap the Lugu Dux down the Pimisi Kunchambor, that didn't roll on the Nidu Manguch Kudu Chijin, then I'll look and the Shungesha Pigeon, I'll stop putting Suki Pigeon on the door. Che Mixi, Chizo Taki Kuneta on the Tama later, Tama gets over to fight. In a social media way, social media can also my jura, the any Tujiche, Pegalo,
这个张林娘的结束了，光俺们是等哪里面绝品的重点。 매주 발로 되니 쇼조 뒤송 신앙상송 천지중송 경계 바송 간대지 포근도 따네 먼저 다리게 아니 대가리에서 이나 로가란세랑 매주 발로 되니 나견도 저는 포네 아니 나견도 저 다들 돈에 나한테 간대지 용도 저다 통돼야 다 나견도 저 당시에들이 나버서 되신다 좀다 나견도 저는 다 사자가서가는 팀이는 왜 보이들 중중이 갈라 간장 질렌도 되게되게 계제 가르치는 것도 계제 해도는 계제 노론 된다 갈루도 되게 자마디노 되는 것도 단어적이 아장경가 제물이었어 단주도 가르쳐서 로가란제 랄리메 주피네 아니지 챌린지 심바레 된다 송장 주로 나면서 아니지 소유진기 먼저 공일이요 아니 아니지 다 매직이나 뒤에서 가르쳐 평에서 마음에나 평에서 자와 산지 장되는 다다 받는 거죠 아니지 준지지하나 연기 단단히나 못되네 옛날 저기 로가란제 주비 신진세는 대전알이야 아니 화면으로나 인사만의 군주선 되죠 군수 시간 좀 따라이